Today we're going to talk about asking questions. One of the most important functions of the maintenance of the interrogative, which means maintaining the orientation of your research around questions, is the fact that it'll help you remove bias, whether it's recency bias or modernity bias, where you think that we think better today than we did in the past, or it's geographical or ethnic or cultural bias, where you observe the activity of somebody else removed from the context of your culture and you judge them as a result. The reason these are problematic elements of understanding is because you're applying a retroactive or a geographically removed lensing to the information you're looking at, and that inherently degrades the quality, the value, and the utility of your evidence. If we are seeking to have a clear understanding, we need to maintain objectivity. And maintaining objectivity is much easier when we let our research revolve around questions. Questions, and the refining of questions, the use of a primary research question and supplemental questions to help you aggregate information and perspectives will give you a much broader range of understanding. We've removed so much of philosophy in the pursuit of science and in the pursuit of all things STEM that we've really destroyed firm method, what people incorrectly call methodology these days. And when you remove the epistemic and the ontic qualities of your understanding or your pursuit of knowledge, you inherently wreck the quality of the knowledge you attain. This is why I posit that we should return to cultivating a scientific method that revolves around inquiry and the maintenance of the interrogative. You should start with your primary research question. You should augment your primary research question with supplemental research questions. You should answer them in turn in very open-ended ways. And you should always focus on your questioning. You should focus on information aggregation. And you should worry a little bit less about the parsing, because at the end of the day, you're going to make judgments, you're going to make translations, and you're going to have to transmit that information in a way that is useful and meaningful to whoever is receiving it. Now, that might cause you right there to wiggle in your pants a little bit, because you say, well, that's going to remove objectivity. Correct, but all of those things, the aggregation and the translation, all of those things are things that have to happen for the information to have any utility whatsoever. You having information and never transmitting it means that nobody's ever going to read it. So they're necessary elements of the equation, as they should be. But, it's a big but, you need to make sure that the intent is to have a refined series of questions and ultimately a refined understanding that leads to another new primary research question. At the end of the day, it all comes back to questions. That's why my personal motto is ego Romo ergo sum. I ask, therefore am. And that means that in my life, when I want to know about something, I always focus on asking the questions. And after I have some kind of understanding, I try to let that understanding still revolve around the pursuit of other questions. Because to me, the more information that you can put your eyes on and that you can take a look at and chew on, the better your understanding is going to be, because you don't have to necessarily latch on to one perspective over another. One of the clearest indicators of high intelligence, high emotional intelligence as well, is your ability to hold two opposing perspectives in your brain and simultaneously allowing them the same amount of credibility. If you can do that, then you don't have to make a valuation judgment of either one being inherently better or worse than the other. You can look at the objective, or as close to objective as possible, reasons that you think, one of which might be more appropriate or correct than the other. But at the end of the day, you're always going to be mixing elements of quote unquote truth with elements of quote unquote fact. And the sooner you realize that as a researcher, the sooner your research is going to yield more beneficial results. And we should always be striving to have a better understanding of everything. And we need to suspend our own personal beliefs, whether they're political, which is the big problem nowadays, whether they're religious or non-religious or whatever. Objectivity comes from the ability to maintain the interrogative and to focus on inquiry. Thanks for watching this presentation of the Front Porch Academy. If you like this message, or if you learned anything today, please like, subscribe, and share, and comment, and have a good rest of your day.